Feel so bad for Jimmy G, but that loss was on the team as a whole, not just the quarterback. Whereas I think the Chiefs Bengals game was on Mahomes because he was clearly trying to do too much. Welcome to episode 37 of Everything Sports with Aman and Evan. I am your host, Aman Karni, and I will be your host for the entire episode because Evan is out today. But without further ado, in this episode, we have the Super Bowl matchup, Bengals versus Rams. I'm going to talk to you guys about NFC and AFC championships because both games were absolutely incredible. And that'll be it for our episode because, man, the NFC, AFC championships were absolutely amazing. The playoffs so far in the NFL have lived up to the hype, maybe apart from some wildcard rounds. But after that, the divisionals, the championships, every game was intense, last possession games. Seriously, look at the scores. But without further ado, let's start over in the AFC side. Chiefs versus Bengals. For the entire game, up until halftime, maybe when the Bengals put up some points at the end of the second quarter right before halftime, it would look like the Chiefs were going to run away with this game, 21-3, 21-10 at halftime. I know the end of the half did not go the way the Chiefs wanted. Maybe that was it. Actually, that was probably the difference maker in the game. Now that you think about it, but 21-3, 21-10 halftime. The Chiefs even had the ball to start the second half. So honestly, the Chiefs had no excuses here. Like, yes, they struggled all season long. This was the most vulnerable Chiefs team I think we've seen because over the years, I don't think a lot about the Chiefs team has changed instead of the players they brought in. And maybe that's why the Buccaneers also lost as well. They just returned all their players, they re-signed everyone, but I feel like teams are now getting used to these teams, these juggernauts in the NFL. The Niners, for example, no one could game plan against them because their rushing attack was absolutely insane. And you got Deebo Samuel literally playing every position on offense, pretty much. You just don't know what to expect out of the Niners other than their rushing attack. So that's why I feel like they went deep in the playoffs. And yes, many of you are saying that, well, Aman, they rush a lot. They are probably going to rush the entire game. Jimmy G can throw some deep balls. Yes, he overthrows a lot. But you saw the Niners, they were actually making a game out of passing more than rushing. So the Niners have always been like sort of dual team NFL team. What I mean by that, by dual, is mean dual offense team is what I should say. You can pass and run. The Niners have everything figured out, just need a better quarterback, but I'll talk about that later in this episode. But the Bengals Chiefs, man, like I said, the Chiefs re-signed all their players. I think they didn't look too much different. Over the years, teams are going to figure you out. And I feel like after last season, the Buccaneers, despite their injuries, yes, there's injuries, there's health, you can point to so many fingers, but I feel like teams are getting used to the Buccaneers and Chiefs. And they've gotten used to Tom Brady. Tom Brady retired. That'll be for until Tom Brady confirms the news. I'm not going to talk about it in an episode, but I know it's a big thing. He just hasn't confirmed it yet. But on the other side of things, the Buccaneers, people got them figured out. Teams got them figured out, so they lost. The Chiefs got figured out, so they lost. 21-3, you should keep that lead. If you had gotten another touchdown, 28-3, and that might have been another 28-3 lead gone away, if you know what I'm saying. Like Super Bowl, Falcons, Patriots, but That's another conversation for another day. Bengals, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. What did I title the last episode? Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are unstoppable. Something like that. I don't know if that's a specific title. I don't remember. But they were looking stoppable. I don't even know if that's a word, but just in terms of unstoppable, stoppable. They were being stopped. And then the second half came. The defense did what they were supposed to do. And then the third quarter is done. And you're like, oh, dang, it's 21-21. There's a game out of this. And then the Bengals push it to overtime and win 27-24. Here we go, man. Is Joe Burrow the new Joe Montana in terms of being cool under pressure? Joe Cool? I don't know. But Joe Burrow might not get as many rings as Montana. Actually, never mind. Never mind. That is a horrible take because Montana has won a lot. And how many times are we going to keep sleeping on these Bengals, man? You got Hendrickson on the defense. He was overshadowed by Cam Jordan in New Orleans. Many were doubting him actually being good because he's out of Cam Jordan's shadow. But man, did he step up. He's been like the MVP for that defense all year long. And then Jamar Chase. This team was like 4-12 like a year or two ago. Joe Burrow's coming off like a torn ACL, and his first season he might win the Super Bowl. And then Jamar Chase, who's a rookie, is playing like he's been in the NFL for 5 years. Like he's gotten used to everything. Yes, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have that chemistry from LSU, but the NFL is a completely different world than college football. And they've been acting like they've been playing for like 5-10 years together. The crazy thing is, as good as these players are, they're not in their primes yet. Like Burrow's in his second year, Jamar Chase is in his first year. Imagine 5 years from now when they get a lot wiser, they see the game better. The Bengals are going to be a crazy, crazy, crazy team to deal with. And I think it's time to stop sleeping on them. Like how the Patriots had their success going to AFC championships, Super Bowls year after year after year. That might be the Chiefs now, but from 5 years from now, with how Burrow and Chase are playing right now, don't be surprised if the Bengals are the new Patriots of football. That's a huge take, and I'm willing to stand by that take. The Bengals will be, I'm not going to say will, might be the new Patriots of football in the sense that in 5 years, when they get draft picks, when they get better players, like better skill players for Joe Burrow, maybe a better offensive line, when they sort just the little things out, they could be going to AFC championships and Super Bowls. And yes, there's Chargers, Chiefs, but the Bengals are such a crazy team. CJ Uzoma, by the way, came out of nowhere. He did get injured. I think his status is looking pretty good for the Super Bowl. But, man, Mahomes threw that interception. I feel like that changed the game. Like, that officially changed the momentum. But I think the play calling was kind of questionable. Like, Mahomes, even though Butker made the field goal at the end, Mahomes just sometimes tries to do too much. Like, at least try to take the sack or something. Like, what happens if the Chiefs didn't recover that fumble? It is game over. Sometimes when you try to do too much, it costs you the game because your intention might be good, but your execution of it was not. And that's the same thing that happened to Garoppolo at the end of the Niners game. But I'm not putting the blame on him. We'll talk about it in a couple minutes, but Mahomes, man, he's already superstar in this league. It's just an example of him trying too much, doing too much, and I think it costed them the game ultimately. And this has been the most vulnerable Chiefs team we have seen all season. But without further ado, congratulations to the Bengals. 10-7, best team in the AFC North. What a team they have. What a quarterback, what a receiver they have, what a head coach. Didn't talk about Zach Taylor. I feel like, should win Coach of the Year. Joe Burrow should win Most Improved. Jamar Chase should win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And we'll see what happens on NFL honors. But without further ado, guys, the Rams versus the 49ers. Wow, what a game. What an unfortunate ending. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo has been under so much fire under the season, and I feel like to the Niners fans, which is actually a big portion of the fan base that want Jimmy Garoppolo out, sometimes you gotta have sympathy for the guy. Sometimes you gotta feel bad for him. Like, he's been under fire so much, and he's led the Niners to a 10-7 record. You Niners fans didn't even think the Niners would make it this far after being 3-5. So at some point, you got to feel bad for the guy because he loves this team. The team loves him, and it just didn't work out. And like Shanahan and like Garoppolo said, it's just part of sports. But like I said about intentions being good, but execution not, Jimmy Garoppolo's intention to try to extend the play to make that extra pass, you're doing too much. I feel like in that situation, take the sack, get the extra opportunity, because you never know. Yes, it would have been a 4th and 15, 4th and 20, whatever it was. Josh Allen threw a touchdown on a 4th and 13. On a 4th and 13. Yes, Gabriel Davis ran that amazing route, but 4th and 13. You probably think, it's 13 yards. They're not going to get it on a 4th down. Are you crazy? You probably think that, but crazier things have happened. Jaquiski Tart dropped an interception, which I think would have sealed the game, man. That would have given your team momentum. I feel like the Niners could have gotten a touchdown out of that, or at least a field goal, which actually would have put the game into overtime, or a touchdown would have sent the Niners to the Super Bowl. But I feel bad for Deebo Samuel too. The guy was crying on the sideline. OBJ was consoling him after the game. Deebo Samuel just did too much. Too much. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's an amazing thing that he was able to do that much game after game. And the local radio here in the Bay Area, I agree with their statement. Like, you have to seize your opportunity. You're up 10 against the LA Rams. This is the last game of your season potentially, where you move on to the Super Bowl if you win, obviously go home and send packing if you lose. They didn't seize the opportunity. It wasn't a bad game just on Jimmy Garoppolo's part. I think it's everywhere. The Rams stopped their rushing attack, but no one's going to look at the Rams stopping their rushing attack. People are looking and thinking about the Jaquiski Tart pick, but now all of a sudden the blame's going to be put on Garoppolo. Like, the guy has still done a lot. The Niners were 3-5. No one forget that. And now all of a sudden, they lose in the NFC Championship after being 3-5. Like, the Niners went through the Cowboys, beat them, went through the Packers in Lambeau, by the way, and beat them. Garoppolo may have done average in this playoffs, but you cannot pin absolutely everything on Jimmy Garoppolo. You cannot. Because the defense, Jaquiski Tart, Jimmy Ward, oh my gosh. They got their butts kicked. I don't know what else to say. They were actually destroyed and they were exposed. They were absolutely exposed. And, like, my gosh. You do not talk trash so much before the game and then have that happen to you. Like Odell crossed 100 yards receiving. Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. Like you got a game plan for certain things, and maybe the game planning the pool was poor, the play calling was poor. But my point is, you can point to absolutely every part on the Niners and say that part didn't do well, that player didn't do well. I don't think all of the blame should go on Garoppolo because that's unfair to him and also, frankly, unfair to the team because the team supports him. Deebo Samuel, one of your guys, supports him. And Jimmy Ward, apparently, on Trey Lance, he said, some of the stuff you see Mahomes, Kyler, Rodgers doing, he has that. And now you're pretty much just bashing Jimmy Garoppolo. You should not. That's not a time you praise Trey Lance. And yes, Trey Lance might be all of those, or might be a miniature version of all those quarterbacks, but like, you do not praise the backup quarterback who's likely going to take over Jimmy Garoppolo. When Garoppolo's in a tough situation, maybe in the press conference, you switch the conversation to Garoppolo to praise him because Deebo Samuel was crying on the bench. I'm sure he feels so sad about the loss, but the person that feels the most saddest is Jimmy Garoppolo because I think he feels like he let the game slip away. Yes, he was a quarterback up 10, but he probably feels right now like, man, I threw away the season. I let the fans down. I let the players down. Even though Jaquaski Tart dropped a pick. So you never know, man. What could have happened didn't happen. Congratulations to the Rams finally beating the Niners in their 7th game in the past 3 seasons. I don't know what else to say, man. Stafford had a lot of pressure on him throughout the entire season. Like, they traded their future for him. The Rams traded 6 first-round picks, not only for him just in recent years, but Matthew Stafford, a lot of pressure on this guy, man. And he is delivering so far. Delivering. And now that sets up the Rams and Bengals for a Super Bowl I don't think many people predicted. I don't think many people thought Bengals would make the Super Bowl. Some people thought the Rams would make the Super Bowl. But the Cincinnati Bengals, they came out of nowhere. I feel like the Bengals Raiders game was a toss-up. But the Bengals were supposed to lose to the Titans. They beat the Titans. They're playing the Chiefs. And they beat the Chiefs down 21-3 in Arrowhead Stadium. I cannot get over that. How did the Chiefs let that happen? They can't let that happen. And this loss is on Mahomes, whereas in the NFC, the loss is on the Niners team, as a whole, not just Jimmy Garoppolo. So that's my take on the Niners-Rams drama and the Chiefs-Bengals game. Let's see what happens where Jimmy Garoppolo is playing next season. But if the Niners should keep him, that's another conversation. One of the episodes down the line, I'll talk about it, which is not a topic right now because I'm undecided on the situation, frankly, and it's just too early right now, a day after the Niners lost. I don't think fans should overreact. I don't think the organization should react. They should overreact. But, man, I feel so bad for Jimmy G, but that loss was on the team as a whole, not just the quarterback, whereas I think the Chiefs-Bengals game was on Mahomes because he was clearly trying to do too much, and it actually caused both quarterbacks to get bit really hard, and they lost as a result of trying to do too much. But for now, that is all for this episode. Super Bowl predictions will either be this Friday's episode or next Friday's episode before the Super Bowl when Evan is back with me. But that is it for today. Tune in to Friday's episode 38. Remember, an episode at the start of the week on Monday and at the end of the week on Friday. See you later. Have a great week.